They talk and say some of una wey be say una be Nigerians now be the problems of the other Nigerians. Una go say how. This video wey I go give una, so it go shock una. It go shock una the way it shock me. So Sowore go see himself for condition wey be say you no expect. If una say una wan do protest, una put dates, say na date 5 or date 6 o, wetin come make una stop am before that day. Make I tell una, all this one una dey do so, it will not solve the problem. E no go fit solve am because why? Una must come tell Nigerians the facts. Wetin una know, even una wey even say una even organize the protest sef, wetin una know, because una wuru too much. Because of una dey shop, una children dey shop, una no care about other people. But una not forget saying, e get one thing wey be say, na e no dey for anybody hand. Na God na get everybody. Mona dey see this video sha.
Of workers, when you have the mass behind you, it's always difficult. If I'm a labor leader and I'm going to Imo State and I know there will be threats, there will be over 2,000 people waiting for me in front of the airport. So if you touch me, you have just burnt down the state. I'm sorry, I'm not saying they should burn down this. I'm saying these are the implications. Let them know the implications of doing something untoward. I mean, a labor leader in Nigeria is not just an ordinary person. During our time, when we were student union, I was president of University of Lagos Student Union. I wasn't even NANS president. You can't touch me. You can ask all the police commissioners in Lagos State. I mean, I was attacked several times, but the students will always be there to resist such attacks and make sure that you are protected because you are leading them and they trust you. So I think there's also some kind of trust issue. There's over-reliance on the security architecture of the state by labor. And it's not only labor leaders. If you go to campuses across Nigeria today, even NANS officials have DSS details. I went to the University of Ibadan. At the gate, they stopped people who wanted to come and listen to me to speak. And that's who they said they have a resident DSS officer at the University of Ibadan. You cannot do that in my days at the University of Lagos. You can't have a resident DSS. You can't even have a DSS person identify publicly. They might be undercover, but you can't identify publicly in our time that you are DSS. I mean, it's not possible. But they have so degraded all this movement. And the movements also contributed to the degradation of themselves through greed and, you know, all this unholy collaboration with actors, state actors in the country.
You mentioned NANS. I mean,
NANS of blessed memory.
NANS of today, you know.
NANS of today.
The news is that, you know, government even sponsors those who become,
look,
you know,
you cannot. NANS of today is an affiliate of the federal government. NANS leaders of today also travel on presidential jets. They don't even hide it, take pictures and put it on Facebook. Part of the biggest problem this country has faced over time is that those who are supposed to lead this country through liberation are aspiring to become like the oppressors themselves. So the moment you start to envy a government convoy, as a NANS leader, you also want to have a convoy. You want to have a vanity plate that says NANS 001. When we had it in our time, it wasn't registered. We just go and put in OSU 001. But it was to antagonize the state. In our time, if the federal government have an official event at the University of Lagos, if they sing the national anthem of their own, we have our own national anthem. Nigeria will hail it. We'll sing it. As soon as they finish their own, we start our own. It's to antagonize the state as it was. But these days, they have all become part and parcel of the oppressive system because I think they envy the oppressors more than they value their liberation.
Let's talk about, you know, this system and what has been on the lips of, you know, a lot of journalists and Nigerians this week, which is this full implementation of the Sowore report. Now, I want to know when it comes to the political will, because we've seen the Tinubu administration come out and say we are going to merge in some of these agencies. We are going to cut the cost of governance. We're going to make sure we do what is possible to make sure that there is a lean government. As of the time when this report came out 12 years ago, we're looking at a reduction of 220 agencies from the 541. But as it stands now, we have about 1,341. When we look at the body language of this current administration, especially with the timeline of 12 weeks for a full implementation, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm not interested in this Oronsanye report. The truth is that if you want to cut down the cost of governance in Nigeria, you cannot be doing it at the MDA levels. It has to be fundamental. That's why I'm opposed to the Nigerian Constitution, the 1999 military-imposed constitution, which is not our own constitution. You want to cut down the cost of governance? Go after serious organs of government. I have proposed that we should have a unicameral legislative system. Only the Senate is enough. Otherwise, all these people that you have in the House of Reps, they are just contractors and extortionist, platforms. They are doing nothing. So that alone will give you an extra 1.2 to 2 trillion naira shaved off of government. You see, and then you start cutting. There's no time anywhere you get to now. Even local government chairman, they no longer use the MDAs, the conventional MDAs. They have advisors who are doing the job of councillors. The federal government has special advisors, senior, junior. Advisors have advisors in this country. Then the advisors will have cars, they have, security agencies attached to them. There's so much to be done that all this one you are saying is just paparazzi. It's just papering of, the walls. This is not taking us anywhere. Tinubu has the largest ministerial pool in recent history. Does that person look like he's willing to cut down the cost of governance? So they will do the mergers, no doubt, because there's a lot of dead agencies, including this. I heard there's an agency in Nigeria that deals with flowers, horticultural something. It's a lot of rubbish, loads of rubbish, but it cannot happen with these people. We have to go back to tinkering with our constitution and be very clear about which agencies represents what and what they do. It has to be a constitutional provision for it. It cannot just be that somebody feels good when there's, people are making noise. Let's distract them with Oronsanye. Even the Oronsanye that did the report has forgotten about what he did, dealing with his own corruption issues. So that's not what we need. We know the reason they introduced it. It's because there's a whole lot of pressure regarding cost of governance. But if you want to let's look at the person who last week said you want to cut the cost of governance. The following week, you are going to Qatar with 2 of your children. Who's going to pay for it? Nigeria, right? Can't you ask them to stay home?
Well, we are not sure is Nigeria paying for that. I don't know if you have seen.
Who is paying for it? Are you the one paying for it?
They are 2 able-grown men. It's just
they are not paying for it. Anybody that is officially on that list,
I'm not saying
that
they
is traveling
are.
to Qatar, the list that is public knowledge, is being paid for by the government. Even journalists who are on those trips are being paid for by the Nigerian government. I know that much. Don't forget, we are all journalists.
Okay.
I am too, but of a different kind.
All right. Talking about cost of governance, yes. You have spoken, robustly about the retirement benefits of police officers. I saw your tweet yesterday where you talked about the fact that it is unacceptable that these people have served 35 years and their, gratuity is about 1.5 million naira. I'd love for you to talk more about that. And
that's less than $1,000.
Yes, it's less than $1,000.
And it's dear to my heart because obviously I'm a daughter of a police officer, retired police commissioner.
What is also interesting is that I actually don't like police.
Oh, really?
Yes. From my university days, I have injuries all over my body. My broken nose was carried out by police in 2021. But having said that, I think it's unconscionable. I was actually a police officer who stopped me 3 days ago in Lagos, and I thought he wanted to shake me down. When I lowered my glass, he said, "Oh, Mr. Sowore, I have something to tell you. Do you know that we are being paid 1.5 million naira gratuity?" And I said, that must be some very gratuitous insult of a gratuity. That was what I replied, and I started tweeting right from there. It's very interesting that most people didn't know this. And it's also kind of interesting that the police in this country will protect with their life the people who are underpaying them in the ways that they've said. But you look at, as I mentioned, an average senator is taking home 15 million naira a month. It would take a police officer, do you know how many gratuities of police officers with 1 month's salary of a senator? But you then go back to governors who serve sometimes 4 years in office. And then they have all these allowances and gratuities. You can't even finish counting them. The one in Lagos, Tinubu started it. You have to build him a house in Lagos and in Abuja. You have to build, in fact, the house in Lagos is so luxurious. He was staying there before he moved to Aso Rock. The house Lagos built for him. You know, he's entitled to change of car every 2 years. He's entitled to police DSS. He's entitled to 100 million naira medical if he goes to medicals in Nigeria. If he goes abroad, the state is responsible for the forex payment for his medicals. All of this is it's close to several billions of naira just to take care of a retired governor who probably already also stole more than enough from contracts and several other things, security votes. And then the policeman who is protecting him after 35 years, an ASP takes home 1.5 million naira, which is less than $1,000 after 35 years. How does he survive? That was what provoked that. And it's very interesting that it became a major conversation on social media. I was surprised by that people were talking about it, even though a lot of people who are even talking about it are the people who fought for the police during NSAS.
Yeah.
And the police were the ones who also shot at them during NSAS. Like I said, I don't know how many people get beaten up by the police or roughened up by like me. But in my conscience, I just couldn't take it. That our own police. And now it speaks for all the civil servants, by the way. Teachers are also facing the same thing. Doctors, everybody who is a civil servant who works with the federal government takes home nothing. But a few of them who are at this highest position take up everything with them. And I think this is also an urgent matter that should be addressed immediately. Immediately. I'm willing to lead the police on a protest, but they said they don't have a right to protest. But I think it's our time they start thinking about this. One has to do with their survivor.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Before you go,
Okay.
I think you did mention something about Mr. Orosanye's corruption charges. I just wanted to make it clear
Yeah, it's
that
been
the court
cleared.
has, yes.
Yes,
exonerated-
the courts always clear
exonerated
them,
of
no
corruption.
problem, yes.
Just to make that clear.
That's fine,
not
that's
our
fine,
stance
yeah.
here on our
I'm glad to hear that
Yes.
he got cleared and his report is now cleared too.
Absolutely.
All right. So staying with the issue of the police, and I like the fact that you're knowing your position about them, you are coming out to fight for their welfare and everything. But this is also the same time that practically the entire government machinery at the federal and at the states, is calling for state police, which therefore means that there will be more recruitment, going on. We're under-policed anyway,
Yes.
and then you will have to bring in more money. But then at the same level of peanuts that is being paid to police officers, and it's not just the police. It's the same thing with the military, with the army. We know what a soldier earns. Even the chief of defense staff said it, himself, that when he goes on the war front, his airship allowance is just about 50,000 or something. Salaries are between 50 and 60,000 for the lower cadre people. So much so that we saw on video that a soldier, a Nigerian soldier, says that he couldn't afford to leave Borno State war front and transport himself, and back, because that would cost him about 75,000. What are your thoughts on state police, given the low income that is accrued to the current crop now at this moment?
If we are going to, I totally support state police.
You
I
do?
support state police, I support local government police, I support campus police. We need police everywhere for that to cover the whole ambit of where we need to secure in this country. But the crucial issue is what we are raising. If we are doing state police, the first issue we must resolve is how you get them paid and well taken care of. Otherwise, you have just introduced another level of banditry. You can imagine crossing from state to state. You will feel it immediately between the states whose police salaries are paid and the ones who, you get to the point where you can't travel in this country, except maybe we'll introduce drone taxes, but they won't shoot down your drones if they need money from you. So we have to resolve that first. And all these governors that are not even willing to pay 30,000 minimum wage, who are calling for state police, we must be able to understand that in calling for state police, they are not after policing. They are after how to use the state police to oppress their citizens, rig elections, kill whomever is against them. But let's look at it fundamentally even beyond that. There is virtually no state in Nigeria that doesn't have a police under the control of a governor. They may not call it state police, but they always have militias, either they call them hunters, or they add them, sometimes it's a cocktail. A little bit of army, police, they call them operations. These are state police that the governors themselves create to bypass the federal police.
So if they have that, why do you support state police? No,
see, what state policing does is that it becomes uniform. We can then decide that if you are going to set up a police, this is where you want them trained. They have to be trained appropriately. But we must also discuss their remuneration. Otherwise, if you give guns to people who are not paid, you have just employed armed robbers and kidnappers.
Do you think that restructuring, sorry, Shaitan, just one, will fix that, or what Professor Wole Soyinka called decentralization and reconfiguration? Like, given that this was where we were when we were doing regional governments.
So the country has already been restructured.
Has it?
Yes. It's just the restructuring is not economic. It's restructured in the interest of the powerful. You understand? Every one of them have enough police, they have enough gratuity, their pension is paid in advance. That is the restructuring that Nigeria has. What we need to restructure is how that wealth goes back to the people. That's what has not been restructured. That's why I'm not part of the restructuring debate. Because each time you ask a person who's proposing restructuring, it has to do with a number of things. After they lose the election, or they are looking for position, or they are facing some charges, they start talking about restructuring. But when they get to, the people that were most vociferous about restructuring some years ago are these APC people. Even El-Rufai, Tinubu, all of them. But now that they got to power, why are they not practicing what they had been preaching? It's because it was all a hoax from the beginning. And if you want to restructure Nigeria, look at the state governors, what they are doing. State governors who don't allow local government to get their allocation, they are shouting restructuring. Restructure the state first and you see development. Yes, most of these state governors don't even conduct local government elections. If they do, by the time we are at the polling unit, the worst electoral commissioners in this country are the state constituted electoral commissioners. They are the worst. You can quote me anywhere. INEC is bad, but they make INEC look like the Pope. We went and did Ondo State election with our party. We were still at the voting place when we heard on radio announcement of all the winners as of 12 noon. We had not even started voting at all. So this is why I keep telling people that anybody that is asking for Nigeria to change, to restructure, decentralize, is asking for a revolution. Because that means we must take down the constitution that is holding all those things down. And you have to take a lot of people out of the way who benefits from all of this confusion.
Revolution of ideas, you mean, or what?
This is total revolution. The ideas, persons.
But that's what got you into trouble with
I wasn't into trouble. It was Buhari that was in trouble. Didn't they withdraw their charges? Didn't I not tell you from the beginning that they're going nowhere? I wasn't in trouble. They were the ones in trouble. They're the ones who had to go to court and shamefully said, we don't want to continue this case anymore. Even though I still have other cases anyways.
Yeah, but people would think you should be grateful that they withdrew.
Grateful to who? That you held me down in my country.